They said she was a grieving widow, a woman cursed by tragedy. But behind the white farmhouse in LaPorte, Indiana, something far darker was brewing. She didn't just bury her sorrow, she buried her husband's. This is the story of Belle Gunness, the woman who turned love into a trap, and her farm into a graveyard. Belle Gunness was born Brynhild Sturseth in Norway in 1859, a poor farmer's daughter with one dream: escape. She was described as strong, quiet, and determined. But locals whispered something cold behind her eyes, a hunger not for love, but for control. When she moved to America in 1881, she took a new name, a new country, and eventually, new victims. She married Mads Sorensen in Chicago, where tragedy struck again and again. 2 of their children died mysteriously of colitis, a vague term often used when poison was involved. Then, on the very same day her 2 life insurance policies overlapped, Mads Sorensen dropped dead suddenly. The cause? Heart failure, doctors said. Belle collected the money, thousands of dollars, a fortune back then, and moved to LaPorte, Indiana to start over. Or to start hunting. Her new property was a large farmhouse surrounded by fields. But the neighbors soon noticed something strange. Men would arrive with suitcases and disappear. Belle always had an explanation. He went west, she'd say. Or he left after a quarrel. She placed personal ads in Scandinavian newspapers. Widow with large farm seeks gentleman for companionship and possible matrimony. Must bring some cash. It sounded innocent, romantic even. But each man who answered the ad walked straight into a trap. They came from across the Midwest, farmers, carpenters, lonely men who wanted love. She greeted them warmly, cooked them dinner, offered them coffee, and then, sometime in the night, they vanished. Under the floorboards, in the pigpen, beneath the orchard. Belle Gunness turned her farm into a slaughterhouse, where human remains mingled with animal bones. Belle wasn't driven by passion or anger. Her motive was colder, greed wrapped in survival. She used love the way others use weapons. Experts today call her a psychopathic opportunist. She could mimic affection, mirror vulnerability, and make victims feel safe. It was manipulation as an art form, a performance with deadly precision. Belle's face, broad and plain, didn't match the profile of a femme fatale. That's what made her so dangerous. She wasn't seducing men with beauty. She was seducing them with trust. To her, people were assets. Love was currency. Murder was just bookkeeping. Letters found later show how detailed her manipulation was. She promised one man, "You are my only love. Bring your savings so we can start anew." To another she wrote, "Sell everything and come quickly. Don't tell anyone." They obeyed. They sold their farms, withdrew their savings, and carried their hope to LaPorte. And then, nothing. No letters, no goodbyes, only silence. By 1908, the farm had become a black hole, swallowing lives, leaving only whispers. And then the whispers turned into screams. On a cold April morning in 1908, smoke poured from the Gunness farmhouse. When the flames died, neighbors found 4 bodies in the ashes, 3 children and a headless adult woman. Everyone assumed it was Belle, but investigators noticed something odd. The body was too small. And in the ruins of the basement, they found something even stranger: bone fragments. Dozens of them, hundreds. As they dug through the soft soil, the truth rose to the surface. Bodies, skulls, human remains buried in shallow graves all over the property. One pit contained arms, legs, torsos, hacked apart with a butcher's precision. In total, at least 14 victims were confirmed. Though many believe the number was over 40, authorities arrested her hired hand, Ray Lamfer, accusing him of setting the fire. Ray confessed to arson, but not to murder. He claimed Belle killed her own children, faked her death, and escaped. According to him, she planned everything. And here's where the case turns from horror to mystery. Because even after years of searching, no one ever found Belle Gunness. She vanished completely, leaving behind a farm full of bones and a question that still haunts true crime historians. Did she die, or did she disappear? Belle's psyche reveals the dark side of control. Unlike impulsive killers, she was patient, methodical. She planned each step with a businesslike calm. This wasn't about rage, it was about security. For someone who grew up poor, powerless, and discarded, money became her armor. Each murder was a transaction, a deposit in her twisted sense of safety. And the children? To her, even family wasn't sacred. They were extensions of her plan, pieces she could move or remove as needed. Psychologists today might call her a high-functioning psychopath, someone who blends into society while harboring total emotional detachment. She didn't see death as tragedy. She saw it as arithmetic. For decades after, sightings of Belle popped up everywhere. A woman in Chicago, one in San Francisco, another in Los Angeles. None confirmed. Some say she died in that fire. Others believe she escaped, living under another name, starting over with stolen money. But one truth remains. She outsmarted everyone. The police, her lovers, even history itself. In her wake, she left a legacy of unease, a reminder that evil doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes it greets you with a warm meal and a promise of love. When you look at photos of Belle Gunness today, the stern expression, the calm gaze, you don't see rage. You see control. You see calculation. You see what happens when greed finds a human host. They called her the Black Widow of La Porte, but she was more than that. She was a storm wrapped in a housecoat, a killer who turned hope into bait. And somewhere, maybe in those ashes, or maybe still out there, the ghost of Belle Gunness smiles, because even in death, she got away. This was Belle Gunness, the Black Widow of La Porte. If you think you can spot evil when it smiles, think again.